Yeah, what is going on, everybody? I'm your host, Rob, back with another episode of From My Experience podcast. Biff may be joining us, but I am not sure. But I have a very special guest with me. This brother wrote a book called Teach Me How to Love. Why What You Don't Know Will Hurt You. I first saw this guy hanging out with a near and dear friend, one of my best friends, Mr. Russell Stewart. Shout out to Russ. I saw him hanging out, saw the book. I said, oh, let me support the brother. I support black businesses, you know what I mean? Especially the Noops. And I bought the book and I read it. And if y'all know me, that is, if you know me personally, you know the last thing I ever talk about is reading. Like, never talk about it, don't really do it. But I read the book and it literally changed my life and changed my outlook on dating. And I really got to thank him for that because this book comes very highly recommended. It's a work of art, y'all. Like, I've bought, I think, like 4 copies of this book. I can't even remember because I've sent the book to at least 2 people that I'm like, yo, you need to read this and do the follow-up. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Troy Spry.
What's going on, big time?
Man, listen, I'm trying to be like you.
Be better than me.
I like that. All right, so Teach Me How to Love. What inspired you to write this book?
Man, I'll tell you. So I've always said I was going to be an author one day, right? I don't know why, but like when I was like in like middle school, it was crazy, but I always said I'm write a book and it's going to be called Grown Ass Man. And I don't know why. I was just talking. I think it was around the time of what do you call it? Kings of Comedy when Stead Entertainer kept talking about that.
Yeah.
It was like around that time. So I always knew I was gonna write a book, man. But you know, God would have it that He helped me walk into my purpose, my calling in the relationship space, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was always kind of a writer anyway. And so I started writing blogs, and you know, the audience got bigger and bigger. And next thing you know, the audience kept saying, they were like, "Oh, we want a book." I was like, "Oh, shoot, they actually really want a book." So
Yeah.
I was like, all right, well, I guess I got to give them a book. And so that really bought me. So actually, the first iteration of Teaching Me How to Love is an ebook,
Okay.
right? And it's called Teaching Me How to Love, A Man's Journey Toward and Through Marriage, right? So I was really just journaling, chronicling what a man goes through when he takes that shift from boyfriend to like going to be a husband, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a real short ebook that's free on my website. But at the same time, I was like, I got to do something with more to it. So then I gave him the second iteration of the book, which was Teach Me How to Love While What You Don't Know Will Hurt You. Because I get so tired, man. If you know my mission is better people, better mates, better relationships, better communities, right? So
Ooh.
that's why I do what I do. And I realized that we got to get new information if we're going to have new results when it comes to relationships, right?
Yeah.
You know, and if we don't get new information and new perspective, because mostly all we know is pretty much what our parents showed us, if our parents was around, right?
Right.
And the older I get, the more I realize that wasn't always healthy, you know. So you start realizing that stuff. You're like, well, let me put something else out there. I already got the gift, I got the call, and I got the purpose. You know, let me give them the content. And so I just gave them the content. I don't claim to know everything by any means, but that's kind of what my inspiration was. That's why I wrote the book, and I'm just blessed that it's been so well received.
Yeah. The title threw me off a little bit. I didn't know what to expect. I'm like, all right, is this like he gonna tell me what to do? Like what? But this book, I think you're really connected with me because I have a lot of female friends who've been heartbroken, feelings hurt, whatever, and I've been heartbroken, feelings hurt, and you know, me being an educator, one thing that we always preach is be a reflective thinker. Reflect, 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 reflect. Sometimes when you've been in a relationship and you've been hurt, you don't truly reflect. You go through the hurt, you deal with it, you go have random sex, you drink, you do drugs, you eat, whatever your vice is. You may reflect, but it's kind of hard to come up with those reflective questions on your own. But when I read your book, I realized the book is about you, meaning the reader. The book, it's like you're talking to the reader. I was like, oh shit, like he's talking to me. So, and I was like, the more I read, I was like, wow, never thought about that. And I think what you really showed me, and it really helped a person like me because I'm very giving, very caring. You basically were like, you need to put yourself first. Like, you need to think about what you did, think about what you've been through, and put yourself first. So how did you come up with like this structure? Because I think it's genius. I'm not the biggest reader, but like the way you put it together, short and sweet, the questions you ask, the methodology you use, like how did you come up with the format?
Yeah, man. So I wanted it intentionally to be short, right? Because we live in a generation where we can't hold attention very long, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I didn't want any more than 100 pages, right? Because I knew if I put out a book that was 300-400 pages or whatever, people wouldn't even pick it up, right?
Right.
So that was the first thing. I knew I wanted it to be short and sweet. But the second thing is, the more I coach people and the more I listen to information or people talk about relationships, they always blame the other person.
Yep.
Everything is a blame game. But I'm sitting there, I've always sat there and been like, there's got to be more to the story.
Yep.
Right? Everybody can't always be all bad. And so there's two people that got into relationships, or there's two people that are guilty. It could be as simple as who you chose.
Yeah.
That was on you. Right? And so I wanted to write it in a way that made people step back and say, self-reflection is the key to everything. Right? What role did I play? Because we can't control anybody else, but we can control ourselves.
Yep.
We can control our mindset. We can control our perspective. We can control the information we consume. We control a lot of things, but we often think in relationship, we think we don't have any control. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's not a good way to be either. So I wrote it this way intentionally, and I wanted it. The main thing I wanted was for it to sound like a conversation.
Yes. And
right?
It does.
That was the goal. Like, if you could pick this thing up and read it all at once, that was my goal. Because I wanted to tell you stories, and I wanted to be like your boy sitting in the room with you, like, look, this is what happened, recently. Tell me what you think about that, kind of deal. So That's why I did it that way.
Man, you did a fantastic job. And shout out to my girlfriend. I love you, baby. This is how powerful this is, y'all. So the girlfriend I have now, when I was reading this book and doing this book, like, her and I weren't talking. I'm not going to put our business out there, but we've known each other for 10 years. So there's a lot of off and on and growth or whatever. But I read this. I did the reflective questioning, because at the end, you make everyone reflect, or you should anyway. At the end, read the end, answer those questions about yourself. And that was 2017. I read this book, and she fits everything that I wrote, even from then. Because I sent her a copy of the book. I bought another copy, and I sent her a copy. I said, I want you to read this so we can compare our answers. But I went back, because I have it saved on my iPad, and I read the answers that I wrote 2 years ago. They're pretty much the same. I didn't add or change anything from what I wrote then. And I was like, the woman I have now fits everything that I've written. And I was like, wow. Talk about consistency. I was like, wow. Because I've never really taken the time to stop and reflect that deeply. Like, really stop and say, okay, how old was I? 32-year-old Rob, however old I was 2 years ago. 32. Like, when's the last time you stopped to really reevaluate what you want and need from the other person? And when's the last time you really stopped to reflect on the role that you played? So now, I know this comes from experience. So as you were writing this, did it make you think about some of the things you've done and been through?
Oh, absolutely. My writing holds the mirror up to my face. Right? And so for me, my wife will tell you, like, one of the best things that happened to our relationship was she became kind of like my editor, right?
Okay.
And so she gets to really listen to, like, some of my innermost thoughts without me even having to say anything, right? Because everything I write is either from experience or someone else's experience. I don't write a lot of theory things. I research theory, and I research psychology, I research all those things, but I don't write that way. Yeah. And so it holds me to, like, when I find myself doing stuff that I shouldn't probably be doing, I'm like, dang, what would I write in a book about that? Right?
Yeah.
Yes, I have to really stop myself sometimes. I'll tell you what else has done for me. It freed me, because it freed me to do the reflection as well.
Right.
And I wasn't always good at that. I was very good at telling you what you was doing wrong, but I wasn't really good at telling myself what I was doing wrong. Right? So that's helped me a lot, man.
Okay, so this last question about the book, well, the last question you have in the reflection section, the takeaway, dear you, Why did you feel it was important for you to have the reader write themselves their old selves or former version of themselves a letter?
Oh man, it's something cathartic about writing, right?
I don't know what
It's
that
some
means.
it's something that's freeing about it, right?
Okay.
It allows you, that's what it is. It allows you to kind of put it down on the paper. It's even deeper, I think, than talking about things,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I believe that's like one of the deepest forms of reflection is when you sit and write and let the pen talk for you, or let the keys on the board talk for you, or whatever it is, because you can get into such a zone. But I wanted people to write to their old selves, essentially to say, to not only see how far they've come, but to see what they've been through
Mm-hmm.
and figure out what they've learned because of that. When you start think about yourself 3 years ago, you start writing to that person like, man, if I only knew this
Yeah.
3 years ago. But then you look forward and you say, man, I'm a lot better because of those things.
Yeah. Dang. You making me reflect now. Uh, that's what's up. That that makes a lot of sense. And that's actually the last thing that I'm working on is the letter to the old me. I'm pretty good into it, but I have some more to write. And
Nice.
that was very helpful. I think everything before that was extremely helpful, but that letter was definitely a big help. Okay, so you released the book. I still need to get my autograph copy, but we'll talk about that off air.
For sure.
Um, talk to people about the business side. What if I'm an aspiring author and I want to write a book and put it out there? Was that a grueling process, or was it something that wasn't too tough?
So it's funny, but I always tell people that want to be authors, like writing the book is the easy part.
Mm-hmm.
Marketing the book is the hard part. You know
Got
what I
you.
mean? Like, because people don't realize how much unless you're like a big time celebrity or
Mm-hmm.
someone like that, that you already have a built-in audience. I mean, why should people buy from you, right? Kind of deal. So people will look at a book all day and think about it, but until it's usually a word of mouth thing. So when I say the business side, one thing I would suggest is if you're going to write a book, I self-published my book, right?
Ah.
I didn't go through a publishing house or anything like that, but I had to. All I did was I talked to people who had done it already. That's it, right? I just didn't recreate the wheel, none of that stuff. I said, okay, let me find a few people who've written their book and self-published it. They walked me through the process.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned the process, and then I started marketing. But the one thing I'll say is on the business side of it is you don't get you don't unless you're like selling millions of copies, you don't get a lot of money off the book.
Right.
The money comes from the speaking engagements and the programs and the coaching class and the things that you can market, the services you can market after the book, right?
Gotcha.
What are people willing to pay for your skill set? That's the business side of it. So people think if I write a book, I'm gonna be rich. No, you're gonna write a book and be rich if you are a New York Times bestseller. That's got a publishing company behind you, that's got a name like Steve Harvey or whatever, right?
Right.
That might do it. But Steve Harvey turned that book into what? Movies, speaking engagements, all kind of other things.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so that's where you really make the money. Is you got to build the platform first, and then you make the money through services and things you can offer through that platform.
I hope y'all listening. We about to add Biff to the call. She says she ready, so give me 1 second. This should be a
Uh huh.
seamless process. Let's see here. Come on, Biffers.
Hello.
There's Biff, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi,
What's
guys.
What's up, Biff?
Hello. I'm sorry I'm late. I had some personal issues to attend to, but I'm here.
It's all good. We forgive you.
No,
Oh,
you
you don't
forgive
got a
her.
choice? Right.
I don't forgive her.
Yes, you
Oh,
do.
you oh, he said he don't forgive you. Uh-oh.
I ain't paying him no mind. But
Oh,
as you can see, I'm also getting my hair taken out because I got a big interview Wednesday. So
hey.
Nice. Nice. Good luck.
thank you. Well, it's already written. It's already for me. So just make sure I have a good time and do good.
There you go. I like it.
All right, so Biff, I asked him a bunch of questions about the book and what it's like to basically what's the process for someone who's thinking about doing it. He just answered that. Did you have any questions lined up, Biff, or are you about to shoot from the hip? Because I got a couple more, but okay.
Yeah, where did you get your I seen some of the points that I didn't notice. Where did you get these points of ladies pay specifically attention to this and men pay specifically attention to this from a lady? How did you come down to
Hmm.
your 6 things you need to know?
So I'll tell you, a lot of it just comes from talking to a lot of men and a lot of women. And so what you start to hear is patterns of things. Like, what are the things that people say the most or complain about the most or wish the other sex knew the most? So through my platform, I'm always gaining intel through my
Mm-hmm.
platform. So when I put stuff out, I'm not just putting it out just to put it out. I'm putting it out to gain intel. So now I can write and serve that audience better, right? And I look at
Mm-hmm.
the things like, what do people like the most? What gets them going the most? What gets the most reaction or the most feedback? And those are the topics I know I need to talk more about, right? And then at the end of the day, I always think too about, we're so disconnected, like when it comes to men and women, that at the
Mm-hmm.
core of it all is I want us to try to understand each other better, right? And if we
Yeah.
would just seek to understand each other better, we would have way better relationships.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Wait,
Now I have another.
wait, Biff. Hold that thought. This is a little scary. Because I'm reading that chapter. It's called A Lesson for Ladies and then A Lesson for Men. And looking at the lesson for ladies and lesson for men, me and my girl now we do all those things for each other. And shout out to Biff for doing some research. Shout out to Bill for.
I am the worst. I ain't even gonna lie, because I do it all day at work. Like, that's my job.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but this book is like, it's y'all. I'm not exaggerating. First of all, let's pause real quick. Tell them where they can get the book from, man.
Yeah, so you can get the book on Amazon or Kindle, or just go to my site, which is Teach Me How To. That's the number two love.com. So teach me how the number two love.com. That'll take you to, Amazon Kindle or an autographed copy, but it's on Amazon. People are familiar with Amazon, right? So just
Mm.
if you just search my name on Amazon, Troy Spry, it'll pop up. And you can go read. I encourage people, go read the reviews, right? People
Mm-hmm.
always like, well, I don't know why I should buy this. I'm like, just let the people speak for it, right? Go read the reviews and then make your decision.
Okay, now that we're on this subject, I do have a quick question because me and Biff did have we had a long talk this weekend, and some
Mm-hmm.
things came up, and specifically, the type of men that I tend to date.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't know me, but people on the show know I'm the project chick. Grew up, in the ghetto, da da da, all that good stuff. So that's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
attracted to. But I'm also attracted to men that have grown. They just have
Mm-hmm.
a background from the hood. Okay, cool. We also know that a lot of these black men or men of color tend to have some type of trauma or PTSD growing up in the hood, which is then, kind of gives into like a toxic masculinity, or,
Mm-hmm.
they're extra hard with their feelings. And now I'm to the point where like, I'm with somebody, dating somebody, but we've reached this bridge of, because of, how his past is, he's very hesitant to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And all I can do is reassure him. But do you think there's a timeline to, like, okay, now, like, come on now, like, I've been here, I'm telling you I'm here, you can trust me, and it's like you still not giving me no inch, or is it still just let him move on his time?
Yeah, so it's a good question, and I
Oh,
think
I'm
this is
sorry.
the
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, because I did
yeah, go
notice
ahead.
on one of them when you were saying, as far as men need to be vulnerable, and you made it. You made a. I think I read you made a comment and said that women always ask men how they feel so they can reassure themselves. But that's
Mm-hmm.
not me. I always ask him how he feels because I want to genuinely know how you feel. Now, yes,
Mm-hmm.
I do ask. I do ask. I will admit, I do ask frequently, like, how do you feel, so I can make sure we're still on the same level and we're still, communicating and still eye to eye on the same page. But it's not to, oh, what do you feel about this? Like, no, I can have a straight up adult conversation, but I'm not necessarily asking you how do you feel about me. I'm asking you how do you feel, and I can't even get the how do
Mm-hmm.
you feel without trying to have it to, like, I don't want to, I don't never want to budge or make somebody feel uncomfortable,
I
because that's
get
when they're
you.
not going to talk to you.
Well, I think it's a few things, right? For a lot of men, especially black men, the idea of feelings is seen as weakness, right? And so we've been conditioned that way, and that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Because emotional support is what we need in relationships, right? Our spouses
Mm,
need that. The thing that you're gonna have to really decide though is, are you supposed to be his woman or his therapist, right?
Mm.
And so I see so many like women put themselves in situations where they end up
None.
being the guy's therapist and the one that's trying to make him learn how to feel
No, see,
instead of
see, see.
understanding.
That's I'm sorry to cut you off, but I get what you're saying. I'm not trying to get him to feel anything. I'm not trying to get him to specifically express his trauma. I'm trying to get him to express himself.
Yeah.
His comment, I always ask him, how do you feel or what's the issue? And he always says, no, I'm all right. I'm not one to talk about my problems. I don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
your therapist because some things are deeper to me. I'm not licensed. I don't know, you know what I'm saying, how to fix trauma per se. I got my own trauma I'm dealing with. I have my own issues. So that's not my place to do that. But I have seen women that do turn into the therapist, or they turn into the doctor, or they turn into a mother instead of a significant other.
Exactly. And
Yes,
well, see,
I'm not.
and I
I don't
think
want to be
you
his
can be
mom, and I don't want to come off mommy. That, you get what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to.
no, I get it, and you can be supportive, right? And you can provide the environment and everything for a man to make them feel like they can trust you with their feelings. But at some point, there has to be fruit from that tree, right? Because I always look at it this way: how long people say, well, how long should I wait? Well, how long do you have to waste? Right? You have to think about that. So it's not to be cold, right? I'm not saying that to be cold in any way, because I think that everybody needs a little bit of support, but the other person has to be trying, right, and
Yeah, now
showing
it's not that he
progress.
doesn't try. I've seen small inklings and small progress. I can tell just like throughout conversations, but it's nothing direct. I can tell it's growth because through conversations he'll start including stuff here and there from the past that he never spoke about. And I'm like,
And that's
okay,
good.
but every time, yeah, that's good. But it's like when I ask directly, it's like a
hmm
block, automatic
But
block.
what you
No,
gotta say too is men will communicate when they're ready to communicate, right?
yeah,
And so a lot of times we get the issue pushed, like, you want to know right then and there, but usually we have to process before we communicate, right? So it's okay to just create that environment, allow that person to know that they can trust you. The number one thing to do, though, is make sure that when we do start to open up, that you spend more time listening and less time talking, right? And then we should never hear any of those things come back to haunt us, right?
nothing should be weaponized. Exactly. But that was
Yeah.
also a
Exactly.
point that he brought up, and I have noticed that that was sort of uh, a rift among the black community between black men and women, especially we use
hmm
words. I hate when people say words don't hurt, words hurt.
Yes, they
And
do.
Mm-hmm.
words and feelings can be weaponized. And that's one of the big reasons why he told me I'm not big on telling my feelings or expressing myself, because every time I did, it was weaponized against me.
Yep,
So
that's
I
awesome,
understand
though.
where you're coming from, but it's like at the same time, it's like, look, man, like we're adults. And it's like you said, how much time do you have to waste? Like,
But well, I think here's the question to say. Sometimes you have to make it less about them and more about you, right? And say, hey, these are some of the things I need to feel. You know, I need these things to feel close to you, right? I need these things to feel. These are some of my emotional needs, right? And so once you start to express that, then when we really love you, we'll make those sacrifices. You see what
oh,
I mean?
we ain't at no love yet. Come on,
Oh
Joy,
well,
work
see
with
you.
me.
Go ahead. Go
Work
ahead.
with me now. Hold
Well,
on now. We ain't in
I
love,
don't want
boy.
to be dating them.
Hold on now.
But
You
if
jumping
you tell
ahead.
so you're asking this man to tell you all about how he feels, though, right? You asking him to share
Yes, but
his trauma.
that's a part of dating somebody. Before, I refuse to be a person that sees somebody and just because I like you, oh, be my boyfriend. No, because that's the reason why my last relationship fell apart. I had a whirlwind romance and got so quickly and so caught up in the R word. I had to have a title. I have to, you have to be living with me. We have to be together. We have to be
hmm
this. And that shit was just chaos and complete a shit show from beginning to end.
So you taking your time now, which is good.
Yes. Now I have learned that it's okay to learn somebody. It's okay to build a friendship. It's okay not to rush. Like, yes,
Yes.
we are not officially together, but exclusively dating, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Our exclusively
If you
dating.
like,
That's
by
that's
all
great.
means, if you want to step out, then go ahead. But it's our own personal choice not to, because we're with each other.
I like it.
There's just no title. But that's because matter of fact, we just had this conversation maybe last week because he misconstrued what I said to him, and I made him understand coming from my perspective. I don't want that right now. We need to work on a friendship and work on who we are and our image first before we can even say we boyfriend girlfriend.
Gotcha. But here's the thing though. Here's the thing you got to think about is you're practicing for the real show, right? And so you need someone obviously that can express themselves. And so if you need someone that can express themselves, you have to look for those behaviors now. If you don't see those behaviors now, you can't expect them to just all of a sudden come at some point. So you really got to think about that. You really got to think about and identify those behaviors and say, you know what? Could I be in a long-term relationship with someone who can't express themselves? Right? Because that's going to end up
that's
being a
the difference.
relationship.
It's not that he can't, it's that he won't.
So he won't. So the question.
But again, that comes to us. We're still building.
There you go. Well, that's okay.
If you still just met somebody and you're still building, I understand that, but it's just
How much time has it been, Biff?
Okay, we started maybe talking around November, and it kind of got serious around January.
Okay. So November, December, January, February. So about 5 months. 4 5 months.
But then, like the first two, I ain't even gonna lie. The first 2 months, it was really some cut buddy shit.
So it really ain't been but 2 months.
3
months.
Yeah. You gotta. Yeah. So you have to develop some patience. That's all I can really say. No, for real, because like.
No, but if you know me, like Biff, like this is extremely good for me.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Like, because normally I'm the one running away. Like the guys are like, "Yo, what's up?" And I'm like, you know.
And now you know how you've been making all those people feel.
But I'm not. I don't want to force nothing on him. No, that's the thing. Like, only thing I want him to do is just I want him to realize that I'm not here to hurt you. Like, I'm in your corner.
He might know that. It takes time. Like, I still do that with my girl now. Like, and I've known her for 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've known y'all I met y'all at the same time. So like, it's like those things. And then but what really helps is she reciprocates. And I know you reciprocate with him. You know, so it's just y'all rhythm, man. And it's just we had to grow together. We had to go through some stuff. We had to have, some disagreements, some disconnects, some reconnects for us to come back to each other to realize, okay, you always come back and you're always consistent. I know I can really, really, really trust you because we really trust each other. So like with everything. Great. So, but it took time, like a lot of time, whole lot of time.
And the other question is, how much are you sharing? Right?
I'm definitely I'm an open book.
So you're open.
I'm definitely
I'm
definitely open book.
He trusts that you're open with him too. Then that's good.
Yes. Now he already told me he trusts me. He's already said that he trusts me. Now, to what extent I don't know.
Baby steps. Baby steps.
Again, like I said, that's baby steps because just like he feels that same way, I said the same thing. I do trust you. But am I going to tell you my deepest, darkest secret right now? No, we're not in a position for me to tell you my deepest, darkest secrets.
Yeah. There you go. So at some point it'll develop. All you got to be doing is seeing progress, though. Like if you were seeing no progress, then you got a question.
Yeah, no. I see progress. I definitely see progress.
You just want more.
I want more. I want him to be more vulnerable with me.
It'll come.
But because I know of his past and toxic masculinity, and then Biff, you know a little bit more. But I've told you a little bit more about him.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it only makes sense. But I was just, it's the first time I've encountered this. Because normally, like, I can get almost anybody to open up.
Yeah.
Almost because I have a very mothering spirit. I'm very maternal. Like, I don't mind. You can talk to me about anything. I'm a confident. Like, I will take secrets to the grave. And it's like, it's the first time ever I'm meeting somebody that's like, so? It's like, well, damn.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird place. Like, as vulnerable as I am with my girl, like, I don't like it. I always say I'm a Mitch whenever I talk to her. She's like, don't say that, babe. You can talk to me. But I'm like, I'm just not used to being this sensitive. Like, I need my male, hard, thuggish, ruggish exterior to let you know, but like it's like ooh, like I'm letting her know like these feelings, like she know all the feelings, like she'll know exactly what buttons to press if she wants to press them. She'll know exactly what to say, but I have to trust her and know that I trust her on the level of I know she would never do that. And I also know that because she does those same things with me. Like we've shown each other our most vulnerable sides, like to the extreme. And it's like, okay, this is everything. Like I feel like there's very little I don't know. And if there's something I don't know, it's probably because, oh, we never brought that up or we never talked about it. But like the important stuff, it's there because it's like we're both the type of people where it's like, look, we gonna do this or not. Like, here's me, okay? Let me see you. We gonna do this or not. And I've always been like that. So,
but it's so you see those the human part of you, and that's okay.
Yeah. Biff, anything else? Biff, okay. Biff is off. Yep. Do your thing in the background. All right, so she got a free session out of you. Now you said you have.
All good.
Oh, don't even do that. I had the mommy. Don't even do that.
Wait, tell people about the services you provide.
Yeah, so I do personal coaching, like one-on-one and couples coaching. So notice I said coaching, not counseling. Right? So I'm not a therapist or a counselor. I'm a coach. And there's levels to this thing. I don't have a license in therapy. So a lot of times I have to refer people out if I feel like they're dealing with really deep trauma type things. That's not really what I'm designed to do. What I'm designed to do is to figure out where you are and then help you get to where you want to be, right, in your relationship. What a lot of therapists do is they kind of go back and figure out where you were and what brought all this stuff upon you kind of deal, right? So that's one thing. I do speaking engagements. So I speak to at colleges. I speak at conferences. Places that people, anything relationship or dating oriented, I'm speaking at it, And so I've got a number of different topics I talk about there. Of course, I got the book. I also do these things you saw me do with Russ. I do conversation parties in the city, right? And so the one that Russ and I did together was called For the Love of Money, where we talked about all things romance and finance, right? So I do those in the city. So those are kind of the 3-4 things that I do with my services.
How can they get in touch with you if they want these services?
Just go to my website, exclusivethoughts.com. That's XKLUSIVE thoughts.com. That's XKLUSIVE thoughts.com. Once you go there, you can find me on any other platform. So that's where I am.
All right. In closing, because I know you got to go, I really appreciate the conversation. Thank you for writing this book. It really definitely helped me, and it helped change my perspective on dating and women. What advice do you have out there? Give some advice to the young men who are dating, the young women who are dating, anyone who's maybe losing hope, like I was losing hope at one point in time. What advice do you have for the people out there?
So two things that come to mind immediately is number one, start with you, right? So start with you. Start figuring out what you really want, what you really need. What are the triggers that you have? Really do that deep self-reflection, right? I think the second thing I would say is it only takes one, right? So you might be discouraged in dating or whatever it is, but it only takes one person to build a life with, right? So that's the second thing. And the third and final thing I would say is when it's right, it's easy, right?
Yeah.
When it's right, it's easy. So we spend so much time in these, I call it struggle love, right? We get conditioned to think that struggle love is like the thing.
No, for real. Like
I agree.
To the women about that, like you shouldn't have to be every love isn't built from the ground up. Sometimes sometimes you got yourself together and you meet somebody that got themselves together. You don't have to necessarily struggle to have a good love story.
There you go. You know what I do?
You can meet somebody at any time and they can be the perfect person. Whether you meet them when you're struggling or meet them whether you got everything secure and in the bag, it don't matter.
It don't matter. When it's the right person, it flows, right? It's easy. You don't have to struggle with it. And I always tell people, if you ever talk to people who are in real healthy relationships, ask them most times how they got into it. And usually the story that they tell you is not a struggle love story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So those are my 3 things. Start with you. Number 2, it only takes one. And then number 3, when it's right, it's easy.
All right, Troy, I'm going to get all of your links and all that good stuff so I can post it. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of From My Experience Podcast. Don't forget to tell a friend about us. You know you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube. Don't forget to join the group From My Experience Podcast on Facebook, FME_podcast on Instagram. You can email us from my experience podcast at gmail.com. If you have any questions, hit us up. Biff, you got anything else?
Nope, just do my regular closing remarks. You guys, we love you. I'm glad you guys listened to my therapy session. I know a lot of women can relate. I know a lot of women can relate to that. So I hope you guys take that and use it and harvest healthy relationships. Other than that, everybody, you stay black, stay proud, stay you, stay down, and we will see you next week.
All right. Thank you for joining us again, Troy.
Peace. Appreciate y'all.
All right. Peace. Y'all.